Bonjour, mon amis. One thing I've never really been able to do, and this is nothing to be ashamed about. This is nothing to be really concerned with, but with me being part of the now generation, or the me generation as anyone would call it, I've never kept up with the times. And I will proudly admit that that was the case for me. The first thing I can think of is the type of cell phone I may have had at a particular time and whatnot. Like, I always, according to the standard of the height of technology at the time, my cell phone was pretty primitive. Like, everybody had the fancy ass phone. I remember when the big thing for cell phones was to have ringtones that played your favorite songs and shit. And I remember everybody pulling out their cell phone, just playing their favorite song. Like, oh yeah, I remember that. And these phones were just god awful. Like, they dropped calls and every possible fucking thing you could imagine. They couldn't hold space. They barely did what they were intended to do. But hey, people loved them. They spent hundreds of fucking dollars on their phone. And in pure irony, those same phones are damn near worth anything. Like, they're garbage. They're terrible. And that's not too far away from today's phones. Today's phones, yeah, we got smartphones. That's the big new thing now. Not so much new, but I mean, am I the only one that thinks that the designs for these phones is kind of not only one-dimensional, but just kind of archaic in the sense that they're not flip phones, and they all, at least it seems like the initial color for most of these phones are black. They're all black, and they may have like a few buttons. I understand it's supposed to be a touchscreen interface, but I don't know. I'm just not sold on the whole idea of damn near every phone being designed like that. And then plus, with all the apps and everything on it, these phones' batteries, they run down way faster as a result. And some of these apps are shit. I mean, they may be free, but that don't mean it's reliable. I mean, I can attest to downloading so many different types of apps that were anything but special, that were anything that I would particularly rely upon. Like, there's only a handful of apps on my phone that I really use, aside from text messaging and maybe recording voice memos or anything. I see myself in the Simple Notepad app, where like I'm making little mental notes, and it's cool. Like, you can make sticky notes to play reminders and everything, or have this at the top of the screen, like, okay, yeah, well, I need to do this, I need to do that, grocery list, anything, important shit. And when it's all said and done, yeah, surprise, surprise, I actually do use the phone for what it's intended for. I call people up, and this is my phone here, and I always tell people right before they start to laugh at me because of how old this fucking phone is. This phone's like 8 years old, and I'm like, hey, you can laugh all you want, but it works for what I need it for, which, when you think about it in the long run, really nothing. Like, I don't do anything special, and most people nowadays don't do anything fucking special on these phones. Like what do these apps do? They, you know what I'm saying? They waste your phone's battery. They waste your time. They make your fucking phone screen light up. They're not, either, if not that, you're playing games on it. I don't get it, man. Like, if I want to play video games or any type of game on it, then I'll play it on an actual console. I'm not really sold on the whole idea of touchscreen gaming. It's silly. Unless, like, the game was built to be designed for that phone. And some games are not too bad. But I don't know. I guess I'm more of a traditional gamer when that comes to case. I guess I'm just old school in general. So, keeping up with that shit in regard was never something that I did well at all either. I mean, I remember when I first got my phone, my own phone. I think I was it was like the beginning of high school for me, and it was more or less nothing more than maybe a flip phone. It might as well have been a flip phone. Like, it had an 8-bit screen, the LCD screen. It was like, it worked, but Don't expect to be doing anything real special. I don't think it had a contact list. It was just sad. And then I got my own flip phone, and I got another one, and then eventually, you know, I began to work a job on my own to be able to afford to not only pay my own bills for my phone, but then I bought a touchscreen phone because I'd been seeing them so many of them all over the place. They seemed kind of cool. And it wasn't until about a year or so later that I realized that phone was also primitive. So I not only got a touch phone, ironically, that was not a smartphone, then I got this phone. This is a Droid, but this ain't nothing that's cutting edge technology. Like nowadays, phones, I don't see anything being brought to the table that is spontaneous and new and inspiring to the point, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't invent shit anymore. So, you know, there's that. But not just in the aspect of technology either. Like, you know, like, what about clothing? I remember, I think I can speak for all of us whenever I say that I remember that time period where we were all wearing, well, maybe not we all, but wearing tall white tees and baggy jeans. I mean, I still wear fucking baggy jeans. Fuck that shit. I'm all about it. You know, but I don't sag like I used to anymore. You know, I used to listen to rap music almost religiously, and I still listen to rap music, but just not to the same degree. I'm not listening to bullshit like, you know, what was it? Them Franchise Boys, Yup, My White Tee, and Laffy Taffy. You know, it's just songs that are just god awful, and you hear them on the radio, and all you can think of doing is being buried in a fucking bass palm. Like, man, I used to like this shit. I used to ride down block with this, and this used to be considered hot. This was like a big song at one point. Like, it's silly. And even worse in the sense that it affected a society's decisions, or at least the younger generation society. Like they talk about, oh, I got candy paint and all that on my fucking car and rims and everything. I'm not into the materialism aspect of music, and it's even worse now because now you have songs that further endorse this mentality. Like, it's pure ignorance in that regard. Like, because it doesn't, you know what I'm saying? I'm not getting anything out of these songs. I'm not getting anything special from these songs. You know, it's the same fucking song and dance that I've experienced in the last 4 or 5 years. It's like we're in a time loop. There's no progress. And it doesn't, so, you know, I guess me being part of being in touch with the times is something that's impossible, because the standards are always being taken from somewhere else, and where we're going doesn't seem like it's been any avenues that we haven't already traversed down. Au revoir.